the sacred tree that transformed a village outcast. In the heart of Nigeria, nestled between the rolling savannas and the whispering winds of the Niger River, lay the village of Odanwo. At first glance, it seemed an ordinary village of sun-baked clay huts, meandering goats, and endless stretches of farmland. But towering over it all was Iya, the ancient baobab tree. The villagers believed the baobab was no ordinary tree. Its roots reached into the realm of the ancestors, carrying prayers and confessions, while its sprawling branches extended toward the heavens, catching blessings from the gods. Stories said that Iya had stood since the time of the first people, a witness to the birth of every child and the departure of every soul. It was a tree of wisdom, a tree of hope, and, for the villagers, it was the heart of the village itself. At the heart of Odanwo's traditions was the Ana festival. Every dry season, the villagers gathered at the foot of the tree to celebrate the gift of life and the blessings of the harvest. Families would bring offerings of yams, millet, woven baskets, and even livestock, placing them reverently at the base of the tree. Songs of hope and redemption echoed through the village, for it was believed that Iya blessed those pure of heart. Yet, despite its deep connection to the spirit of the land and the people, there was one villager who had always remained outside the warmth of its blessings. Issa was a young man with sharp features and sharper words. He was known in the village not for his kindness or wisdom, but for his biting wit and selfish ways. Orphaned as a boy, Issa had grown up on the outskirts of Odanwo, scraping by with little more than his cunning. His parents' death had left a deep scar on his heart, and the love he once felt for the village faded with each passing year. While the villagers worked together to farm and build, Issa worked alone. He mocked the elders' wisdom, ignored the children's laughter, and scoffed at the sacred stories of the baobab. "It's just a tree," he would sneer. "No tree has ever filled a man's stomach." He had long abandoned the communal spirit that tied the villagers together, instead choosing to thrive through deceit and manipulation. One fateful evening, Issa's disdain for the village and its traditions reached a boiling point. Baba Mida, a hardworking farmer, had spent months saving enough to buy a goat for his family's Ana feast. The goat was a symbol of hope, meant to feed not just his family but also to be shared with neighbors. Seeing an opportunity, Issa tricked Baba Mida into leaving the goat unattended. Under the cover of darkness, Issa stole it and brought it to his hut at the edge of the village. While Baba Mida wept over his loss, Issa was unbothered by the sorrow he had caused. When news of the theft spread, the elders convened under the baobab. After deliberating, they declared Issa unwelcome at the Ana festival. The village had little patience left for his misdeeds. They believed that the baobab had cursed the young man, for there was no honor in his actions. Shamed but unrepentant, Issa retreated to his lonely home, muttering curses under his breath. That night, as Issa lay in bed, he was startled awake by a strange glow. Light streamed through the cracks in his window, golden and unearthly. Rising to investigate, he stepped outside and froze. The baobab was glowing. Its massive trunk shimmered faintly, and its leaves sparkled like stars. A deep, resonant voice emerged from the tree, echoing through the night. "Issa," it said. Issa's heart raced, but his pride forced him to respond. "Who speaks to me? Is this some trick?" The voice ignored his question. "Your heart is heavy with greed and anger. You have turned your back on your people and the ways of your ancestors." Issa scoffed, though his voice trembled. "What of it? What can you, a tree, do about it?" The baobab's light flared brighter, and Issa shielded his eyes. "Redemption is still possible, but only if you are willing to give without expecting anything in return. Do what is right before the first light of Ana, or you will bear the weight of your actions forever." Issa stumbled back, his bravado crumbling. "I have nothing to give," he whispered. "You have yourself," the tree replied, its voice softer now. "Do not waste the chance you have been given." The light faded, leaving Issa alone in the darkness. Issa spent the rest of the night wrestling with his thoughts. The baobab's words haunted him, yet a lifetime of bitterness made it difficult to care. But as the hours passed, memories surfaced, memories of his parents, of the joy they had shared before their untimely deaths. He remembered his mother's laugh, his father's stories about the baobab, and the sense of belonging he had once felt. For the first time in years, Issa felt a pang of guilt. As dawn approached, he made a decision. He would return the goat to Baba Mida. It was not just the right thing to do, it was the only thing left to do to lift the heavy burden he carried. Carrying the animal through the silent village, Issa began to notice things he had long ignored. The warm glow of oil lamps in windows, the sound of families sharing stories, the faint aroma of spices from cooking fires. A deep ache filled his chest. He had been so blind to the beauty around him. For the first time, he felt the pain of the village's absence in his life. When he reached Baba Mida's hut, Issa set the goat down quietly by the door. He turned to leave, but the door creaked open. "Issa?" Baba Mida's voice was tinged with surprise and suspicion. "What are you doing here?" Issa hesitated, then turned back, his head bowed. I came to return what I took. I'm sorry." For a moment, Baba Mida said nothing. Then, to Issa's astonishment, the old man stepped forward and embraced him. "Thank you," Baba Mida said simply. It was the first time in years that someone had shown Issa kindness. The rawness of the moment overwhelmed him, and for a brief instant, he considered saying nothing more, leaving the village once and for all. But the warmth in Baba Mida's embrace called him to something deeper, something more important than his old grievances. Word of Issa's act spread quickly. By the time the Ana festival began, the entire village had heard the story. Though some remained skeptical of his sincerity, the elders were moved. They invited Issa to join the celebration, saying the baobab had spoken to them in a dream, affirming his change of heart. As the villagers gathered beneath the baobab, the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon. Suddenly, the tree shimmered, its branches heavy with golden fruits. The crowd gasped in awe. The baobab's blessings had returned. The chief elder stepped forward, his voice reverent. "This is a sign from the ancestors, a symbol of forgiveness and new beginnings. Today we are reminded that no one is beyond redemption." The villagers cheered, their voices rising in joyous harmony. Yet, amid the celebration, Issa's gaze fell on one person who had been watching him from the edge of the crowd. Zara had been one of the few who had never given up on Issa. She had known him since childhood, and despite his outward cruelty, she always saw the tenderness beneath his anger. Zara had lost her own parents to illness when she was young, and in their absence, she and Issa had been like family. Over the years, however, she had distanced herself from him, unable to reconcile the boy she had known with the man he had become. But even now, as Issa stood before the baobab, Zara's eyes were soft with a sorrow and warmth that only deepened his sense of regret. As the festival continued, Zara approached Issa, her steps tentative but purposeful. When they stood face to face, the silence between them felt heavy, as if all the years of hurt and estrangement hung in the air. "You've changed," Zara said quietly, her voice a mixture of surprise and hope. "I don't know if it's enough," Issa replied, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know if I can ever undo the wrongs I've done, but I will try." She studied his face for a long moment, then reached out and gently touched his arm. "That's all we can do, Issa. Try." For a long time, Issa had feared redemption was beyond him. But standing there, with Zara by his side, he realized that the journey was not just about returning a goat or seeking forgiveness from the village. It was about learning to forgive himself. And, in the process, perhaps even finding the love that he has always eluded him. For Issa, the moment was transformative. The weight he had carried for so long lifted, replaced by a sense of belonging he had thought lost forever. From that day on, Issa became a pillar of the community, He worked tirelessly to help others, taught children to honor their traditions, and shared his story of redemption at every Anna festival. And beneath the baobab's watchful gaze, Odanwo flourished, a village bound by love, forgiveness, and the promise of new beginnings. Years later, when Issa had grown old, he often sat beneath Iya, watching his children play and sing with Zara by his side. The baobab's golden fruits still appeared each year, a reminder of the tree's blessings and the enduring power of redemption. Though Issa's life had been filled with trials, he had found peace and love. For in the shadow of the sacred tree, he had learned the most important lesson of all. The greatest gift one can give is themselves. And so, the story of Issa and the baobab was passed down, a tale of hope, transformation, and the unbreakable bond between a village and its ancient guardian. The end. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment.